All right, back here again on the Sort of Sports Podcast, episode 141, and this is the first ever solo pod we've cut as a video. And by we, I mean me. So if you hate this and you're like, wow, this feels really weird, Ryan just kind of talking to me personally, I preferred it when it was, just serenaded in his voice. When I see his face, it just makes it weird. If you prefer to not see the face, right? We won't go into the many jokes I can make there, right? But if you prefer to not see my face, let me know. We can stop with the video podcasts. But thought we'd video this one. We'll see how it goes solo with the video. I definitely did not want to do the video for the Tangled podcast. So if you missed that on April 1st, I always do an April Fool's pod. Sometimes I mention if it's an April Fool's pod or I just let it lie. This year I am mentioning it. I did do an April Fool's pod. That came out a couple days ago on April 1st. I'll probably put this out April 2nd or 3rd. It just depends on when I record with Quinn when I'm going to drop this. But you already know that because you're listening to it or watching, as this is now a video. John Cena. This is now a video podcast too, so you can do whatever you'd like. But anyways, this is going to be the MLB Predictions pod. At the end, I'm going to do a little bit of TV talk. There's a lot of good TV out right now, and I just kind of wanted to touch base and point that out. So let's get into the official MLB predictions for 2025. I even wore a little Guardians sweatshirt, the retro Tomahawk. No, it's not Tomahawk. Is that? It's Arrowhead. Two different things. Tomahawk is Arrowhead is. Well, yeah. This is an Arrowhead, right? Okay. Let's get into the show. So we're going to start off in the AL East. So the AL East, I have the Yankees winning it. I know. And for what it's worth, I know we're a couple days late on this. And I know the torpedo bats been a big talk. If you want my take on the torpedo bats, it's pretty simple. Everything in baseball over the last couple of years has gone the pitcher's way, it feels like, and the MLB is trying to find more offense. If the torpedo bats are the answer, then why are we trying to regulate them? Let's let them have their fun. Let's get the offense going. As long as it doesn't get too out of hand to the point where it's just like absurd scores, I think it's a good thing because I think the offense being higher will drive viewership. But that's just my thoughts. Anyways, back to the MLB predictions. So first, in the AL East, I have the Yankees. This will go on as we continue this episode, but it sucks with the MLB right now because for years it was like, oh, well, the Dodgers and the Yankees spend all that money, but for what? They don't win the World Series every year, do they? Well, last year that was the World Series. So the idea that you can buy an elite team used to kind of be like, oh, no, you can't do that. And maybe you can, right? And I always could kind of bet against the Dodgers and the Yankees and be like, hey, guess what? They've had the best teams on paper the last couple of years, but you know what never happens? They never win the World Series. Well, they were both in the World Series last year. So, not as wild of predictions as I've done in the past, I must admit. This is a little more honed in. And that's just because, I don't know, maybe I'm a little, I don't say a little, I'm not as excited for this MLB season have been in the past. I'm just not. I think I was really disappointed in last year's World Series, and that's not the MLB's fault. Those teams are really good. I don't know. I just kind of feel like I have a concept of what's going to happen. I would really like to be wrong. So I got the Yankees winning. The AL East. Behind them, I have the Orioles. Orioles, for obvious reasons, these are the two best teams in this division. I think you could argue with me if you really like the Red Sox this year, but I have the Red Sox coming in third. Orioles are obviously a World Series contender. It's a stellar roster. They got some bats. And I was really excited for them last year and 2 years ago, and they just never seem to get done in the playoffs. I say never, but it's really just been the last 2 years. And I'd like to see the Orioles have a really strong season and potentially be more of a contender come playoff time. Because I think, in 2023, did they, look it up real quick. Did they lose early in the playoffs then too? Did they also lose first round or did they win a series? Because I remember they lost immediately last year. Yeah, they lost immediately in 2023 too, and they were the 1 seed that year. Yeah. But last year they lost to the Royals. I remember that. So, feel bad for the Orioles. Anyways, third I have the Red Sox. Fourth, I have Blue Jays. Fifth, I have Rays. I think this is a good division because I don't even think the Rays are that bad. They did lose Randy Arozarena, and that's like the heart and soul of the team, in my opinion. But I don't know. Kevin Cash always somehow seems to get it done. He's a good manager, I think. Other than that time he pulled Blake Snell out, that's gonna haunt him forever, I guess. But Blue Jays could be interesting. They could have a really, really big season from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You got to think like maybe he's just gonna absolutely cook because he's trying to get paid this upcoming offseason. And that's true. I just don't love the rest of the team. I just don't. So that's why I don't really have the Blue Jays doing any better than that. And then Red Sox, there's been some buzz around them, and I'm kind of in on it. I'm like, yeah, I kind of see it. So that's why I have the Red Sox third. Let's shift over to the AL Central. This division had 3 playoff teams last year. I don't think anyone saw that coming, especially how good of the season the Guardians had. And I do think the Guardians are going to have a really good year again. I actually think they're going to be better. I really do. And is that me saying that because I've kind of fully embraced the fact the Guardians are my favorite team? Yes, probably. But I also want to say they overperformed last year. That is dangerous. It is very dangerous to completely overperform. And then the year following, that's hard. The follow-up to the breakout year is always a tough thing to pull off. The Lions, I think, did a really good job this year. But even then, they came up short in the playoffs, shorter than you'd liked. But they went 15-2. I know it's not baseball. I'm just saying. Another example would be like the Sacramento Kings, though. I mean, completely overperformed in 2023, and then 2024 kind of diminishing returns. And so now they're kind of like, what is this team? And I think that happens. It's hard once you've had the breakout year to kind of figure out where you go from there. So the hello, we've arrived is always kind of hard to follow up. So we'll see what the Guardians can do. But I do think they're going to win the division. I think this team should be – I mean, I get losing Jimenez and losing Naylor, but I think Bazan is going to be really good. I really do. And I'm going to miss Naylor. He's my favorite player on the team. But, yeah. Hopefully Clase can get it together again because obviously he struggled there in the postseason. So hopefully he can put it back together and get back to elite form. Second in the AL Central, I got the Royals. I think this is for obvious reasons. They made the playoffs last year. I think this team will be even better. Spoiler alert, I do have Cole Reagans winning Cy Young. Just trying to, you know what? Let's make an interesting choice for Cy Young. That's kind of what I was thinking. I decided to go with him, so that's who we're going with for AL Cy Young. So I just think they're going to be a good all-around team. They obviously have Bobby Witt, and Bobby Witt is very good at baseball. So, yeah. 3, I have the Tigers. I don't have them making the playoffs this year, but this Tigers team could overperform, and maybe they end up being one of the top 2 teams in the division. I think there's 3, the 3 playoff teams here from the AL Central, I think could all have really good years again. I like how the Tigers are doing. Maybe last year was kind of their, hey, look at me, and then this year is like, boom, we're here to stay, you know? So, we'll see, but I think I'm biased because I like the Guardians. And I think on paper, the Royals are kind of undeniably better than the Tigers. So that's why I don't have the Tigers any higher. Okay, so 4th, I have the Twins. And then 5th, I have the White Sox. I don't have much to say about either of these teams. I don't think either of them are very good. I also hate the Twins redesigned for their uniforms they underwent last year. I think they're awful. Do you guys... Okay, quick thing. Longtime listeners of the podcast know I took the White Sox to win the World Series. Was it 3 straight years or just 2? Because I know I took them in 21. Let's check this. I know I took the White Sox to win the 2021 World Series at the beginning of the year, obviously. And then, obviously, they did not. And then 2022, I took them again. In 2023, did I give up? That's what I want to look at. Did I give up in 2023? Did I accept my fate in 2023? Well, the thumbnail is the Marlins. It makes me think maybe I did not. Let's check my notes. April 2023. Did I take the White Sox to win the World Series 3 straight years in a row? And the reason it's so funny to me. Nope. 2023, I took Padres over Mariners. There we go. But I think it's just so funny because in 2023, the White Sox were awful. And then in 2024, they were awful. So I think it's my fault. I think taking the White Sox back-to-back years in 21 and 22 to win the World Series and just believing that that team was special completely cursed the franchise. Just ruined them. I mean, they're terrible. They are really bad. Did you know on like Polymarket they do all those like wild bets? And you can bet on Jesus Christ returning to earth. You know what I mean? Like the second coming of Christ and he comes back. And is it the second coming or is that third at that point? I think it's the second. I don't know why that doesn't count as third. Maybe I should ask my pastor this because I just thought about this. Anyways, there are higher odds for Jesus returning to earth this year than the White Sox making the playoffs. That is a real stat. So, it's a tough beat if you're a White Sox fan. But yeah, so AL Central, Guardians, Royals, Tigers, Twins, White Sox. That's my official order. Let's go to the AL West. I got the Rangers winning. I know the Astros winning every year. I know. We're going to mix it up. We're gonna change it up, damn it. Putting the Rangers in. We're going to let the Rangers win. I mean, World Series champions back in 2023. Let's give them the win. Astros I got coming in second. The majority of that Astros team, not even the 2017, I'm talking about 2022, because they were good in 2022 too. Even though we cheated, we are good at baseball team. That was the 2022 roster. Even though not all the pieces from that team are still here, like a decent amount are out, it's still a good team, so I do have the Astros too. I would love to put the Mariners above them, but I feel like every time I get higher in the Mariners, it's like the reverse of as soon as I thought I was out, they pull me back in. It's the reverse with the Mariners. As soon as I think I'm in, they pull me back out because I'm like, what are you doing? They're just always like right about 500. And I think Julio Rodriguez is really good, but he just like goes through spurts where he's not. So it's just like, I don't know. I just don't trust him. So I can't, in my right mind, put him higher than 3. 4, I have the Athletics. That's right, baby. The Athletics will not be the last place team in the West because that honor will go to the Los Angeles Angels. I do want to say, hopefully Mike Trout gets to play more seasons of baseball as he is one of the greatest players of all time. But I also thoroughly believe that when it's all said and done, and I've been saying this for a couple years now, Shohei Ohtani will go down as the GOAT. Like, I don't think it's even going to be really a question. I think especially with the World Series win, he'll probably win another one. And he's already got 3 MVPs. Like, it's... Shohei Ohtani, we're witnessing the greatest baseball player of all time. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. And he is on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Okay. Trying not to think about that. It made me really sad. Let's go over to the NL East. Oh, wait. Why did I put the Athletics above the Angels? The Athletics actually have some guys that I like. I'm going to have to Google their names. Because like I said, guys, I haven't been paying attention to baseball as much as I usually do. I think I was really just that upset about the World Series. I'm not going to lie. Okay, Oakland Athletics roster. Brent Rooker, he's good. And Mason Miller. Those are like the big 2 that stand out to me. Those are the big ones. But one's a pitcher and then Rooker's a hitter. I don't know why I said one and then I named the other guy, but you know. Mason Miller's the pitcher. The Angels is just Mike Trout at this point. Remember when they paid Anthony Rendon? I do too. Let's go to the NL East. So switching over to the National League, I got the Braves winning the division. It's a safe pick. I think they're one of the most well-run organizations in baseball. I do understand that the Mets went and got Juan Soto. I must admit, I'm a little scared about the Juan Soto Mets thing. Sometimes when you make the big move and you get the guy, it doesn't always work out instantly. It took a little bit for Frankie Lindor to really work in New York. I'm not sure if Juan will click instantly there. So that's why I'm not having the Mets win the division. I have them coming in second. Third, I have the Phillies. Fourth is the Nationals. Fifth is the Marlins. I remember when the Marlins were up and coming and fun, and I really loved them. And a part of me thought, maybe this is my favorite team. Really like Sandy Alcantara. I made a little tweet. It's like one of the first tweets I ever put out. Had a little bit of analysis to it. Had like 12 likes. I felt like the man. It was about like how the Marlins had a top 5 ERA, like team ERA in the league, but like a bottom 3 batting average. And I was just like, hey, if these guys could actually hit the baseball, this could be a really good team. And people were like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. I'm like, hey, thank you. And they've just never really been able to do that. They did make the playoffs in 2023, and they lost in the wild card, and I don't think they'll sniff the playoffs this year. But it'd be fun. I also think the Marlins uniforms need redesigned, but it's okay. It's whatever. Just the black lettering on the black jersey just doesn't look right to me. Whatever. Nationals at 4. They do have some talent, right? Like, that's kind of the big thing. They have C.J. Abrams, and they have Dylan Cruz. And I'm expecting Dylan Cruz to be NL Rookie of the Year. We'll get to that later. I do my awards predictions. So I do think the Nats have some talent, but they're a long ways away from competing for something serious. And then the top 3 teams in this division are just the top 3 teams it's been for the last couple of years, and those teams are good. So that's why. Let's go to the NL Central. This was a toughie. You could put this division probably any which way, and you could probably convince me to agree. I'm being serious. I ended up settling on the Brew Crew. I think the Brewers are just the most well-run, and they always seem to be consistent. So I went with them to win. 2, I have the Reds. I would love to see the Reds win this division. I really would. Ellie De La Cruz, Hunter Green, 2 guys I really like. I don't love the rest of the lineup. And, they don't have Jonathan India anymore. Jonathan India is not with the Reds. And so it's just kind of like, I would like to have them higher, but I can't. So Reds are 2. 3, I have the Cubs. I've had people getting excited about the Cubs, saying maybe they can win this division. That'd be really fun. I don't see it. I don't think there's enough talent on the roster. Once again, we go to the Pirates. I would love for the Pirates to be good. I have a big soft spot for the Pirates. Like the NL Central, I have a soft spot for a lot of these teams. I have a soft spot for the Cubbies, the Reds, and the Pirates. I don't think any of them are going to win it. I just trust the Brewers the most. And then the Cardinals, to me, are the worst team in this division. But once again, you could probably convince me they're the best. I think this division's kind of all over the place. It's a lot of like teams that'll win between 75 and like 85 games. They might have 4 teams finish in that range. So that's the NL Central. Let's go to the NL West. You got to have the Dodgers winning. I do. 2, I have the D-backs. Like that roster a lot, especially from a batting perspective. I think they have a really good 1 through 9. Then the Padres, I have 3rd. 4th, I have the Giants. 5th, I have the Rockies. Do you guys remember the Giants won 100 games? Just randomly in 2021. That was super fun. It was awesome. I want a team like that this year that just comes out of the woodwork and is randomly awesome. I don't know who it could be, but that 2021 Giants team was a hell of a good time. I'm sure their fan base loved it. I guess that was the Guards last year. I just don't think about it because, I live in Ohio, so it's oh, cool, the Guards are good. But for most people, that probably was the Guards. But the Guards didn't win 100 games. Didn't the 2021 Giants win 100 games? I'm not crazy, right? They had an incredible record. Let's look this up. 2021 Giants. I got to put in baseball, too. It's going to give me NFL. Unless I do. All right. 107 and 55. Absurd. And then the next year they went 81 and 81. Year after that went 79 and 83. And then last year went 80 and 82. So yeah. 107 and 55. A team was nuts. Anyways, I don't know what happened, man. All right, yeah, I got the Rockies last. Not a lot to be excited for if you're a Rocky fan. Sorry. Chris Bryant. I love Chris Bryant. He's getting paid. Good for him. Okay, so let's get into the awards. NL MVP, I have the greatest baseball player of all time, Shohei Ohtani. AL MVP, I think Bobby Witt takes it home this year, so good for you, Bobby Witt Jr. You were close last year. I think you get it this year. NL Cy Young, I'm going to give it to Paul Skeens because obviously, right? Like, yeah. Okay. AL, like I said, I'm going Cole Reagans. I'm going to mix it up, give him a shot. And we'll come out of the woodwork for the Royals. NL Rookie of the Year, I got Dylan Cruz for the Nats. I think this makes sense. He picked number 2 right behind Skeens. Both went to LSU. I feel like I'm trying not to overthink it this year with the Rookie of the Year picks. I'm just picking the guys I remember being good in college or I remember hearing a lot of buzz about. That's essentially what I'm going with. So that's why I'm going with Bazana for the Guardians to be the AL Rookie of the Year because I've heard good buzz about him and he was the number 1 pick. Just makes the most sense to me. So Bazana. NL Manager of the Year, Dave Roberts, and then AL Manager of the Year, Stephen Vogt. So the Dodgers and the Guardians will have the 2 Managers of the Year. I must admit, not really the most interesting picks. I'm essentially saying Dave Roberts is going to win because the Dodgers will have an incredible record, which they most likely will. And then Vogt, I think the Guardians could potentially have the best record in the AL. I ended up putting them 2, but I mean, I think the Guardians could have an even better season than last year. And it's just, if you look at the AL, really the only one I could see getting a Manager of the Year is the Red Sox. I could see maybe there's an argument for, oh my gosh, what's his? Is it still Alex Cora, right? It's Alex Cora, right? Yeah, okay. All right, I think there's an argument that Alex Cora could be Manager of the Year if the Red Sox make the playoffs, like I think they will. But I'm going to go Vogt because, I mean, it'd be hard to go back-to-back. Maybe I shouldn't do this. Screw it. We're going to stick with it. Let's look at the odds. Can you bet on AL? Yeah, I'm sure you can bet on AL Manager of the Year. Let's check this. All right. Bet MGM. Let's see it. MLB Manager of the Year odds. For the AL, it's AJ Hinch, plus 500. That's the Tigers manager. Dan Wilson for the Mariners, plus 500. Alex Cora, Red Sox, he's third, plus 700. Vogt is plus 1,600. Oh my gosh, he's one of the bottom 5. You know, let's go with Cora. Why not? We're going to make a change. Making a shift, baby. We're going to go with Cora for AL Manager of the Year. Now, I do want to say, we've sat here and we've pondered. And I said I was going to take the Brewers. But looking at the Manager of the Year list, I was reminded of course, my old friend Terry Francona. And I went to Tito's last game with the Guardians. I think he's a damn good manager. And he does manage the Cincinnati Reds. And scrolling past his name, it hurt me that I didn't take him and the Cincinnati Reds make the playoffs. So we're going to make a change in the NL Central, baby. We're going to take the Reds to win the NL Central, because why not? Let's have fun. Let's play ball. Brewers will now be second. Reds will be 1 in the NL Central. That's right, boys. I'm putting the Cincinnati Reds in the playoffs. Oh, yeah. We're going to have some fun. All right, that is it for the awards predictions. Let's get over to the MLB playoffs. So, NL wild card, we got the 6-3 matchup. The Reds are the 3 seed. The Phillies are the 6 seed. So I have the Phillies beating the Reds in the wild card. 5-4 matchup, Mets versus D-backs. I have the D-backs beating the Mets. I do. All right. NLDS, we got Dodgers versus D-backs, Phillies versus Braves. I got the Phillies and Dodgers winning both those. Go to the NLCS, gives us a Phillies-Dodgers NLCS. Ryan, are you just putting the Phillies in the World Series because you think that's a fun team? Yes, I am. So I'm taking the Phillies over the Dodgers in the pennant. Phillies to the World Series. AL wild card, we get the number 5 Royals versus the number 4 Orioles. I got the Royals beating the Orioles just like last year. You got the number 3 Rangers versus the number 6 Red Sox. I'm going to take the Rangers to beat the Sox here. Then we get to the DS. We get the Yankees versus the Royals, the Guardians versus the Rangers. I got the Guardians beating the Rangers and the Yankees beating the Royals. That gives us a Guardians-Yankees pennant. And I take the Guardians to get revenge over the Yankees from last year, which gives us a 2025 World Series of Phillies versus Guardians. Now, some of you may know me personally and may know me well. Some of you may also know my mother. My mother loves the current Philadelphia Phillies team. Huge fan. She loves Bryce Harper. She loves Kyle Schwarber. She really likes Alec Boehm. Real Muto she thinks is fun. Castellano. Just the whole roster. Big fan. Trey Turner. Zach Wheeler. I'm just naming Phillies at this point. Okay. Anyways, she likes a lot of the players. She thinks it's a really fun team. Never gets tired of them. I also love Bryce Harper. I think he's awesome. My mother also has a soft spot for the Guardians, and it's my favorite team. Did I just predict the ideal World Series for my mother to watch and me to chat it up with her about? Yes. Is it probably the best World Series pick? No. Is the best World Series pick most likely one that involves the Dodgers winning? Yes. Now, am I going to do that? No. So that's where we're at. Now, one could say, now, Ryan, does this ruin the Sort of Sports podcast? As we are no longer fighting for truth and justice, but selfish pride. And that question, I think, is very interesting. So in the World Series 2025, we got Phillies Guardians, and I'm going to take, I feel like I pushed the Guardians a long ways. I'd love to take them to win, but I don't want, baseball's all about mojo, and I don't want to even take a chance that I cursed them, even though I already pushed them really far. I don't even want to push them too far. So I'm going to have the Phillies beat the Guardians in 6 games in the 2025 World Series. So I'm taking the Phillies to get it done. They've been dancing around the World Series for a while. This is the year the Phillies break through and win the World Series. So your 2025 MLB champions, the Philadelphia Phillies. And that would be a super fun World Series. Be awesome. You can market Bryce Harper versus Stephen Kwan. You're laughing because you're like, that is nowhere near as marketable as Aaron Judge versus, I mean, technically you would probably market Bryce Harper versus Jose Ramirez. Nothing against Stephen Kwan. I love Stephen Kwan. But I do want to say Jose Ramirez is the best player on the Guardians. So it's probably a Bryce Harper versus Ramirez World Series, and that's like Kwan facing off. And like I'm picturing like the image, right? It's like Jose Ramirez like holding up the bat, Bryce Harper like holding out his bat, and then it's like Kwan doing something defensively. Is it Trey Turner probably for the Phillies? Is he next up? Maybe. Probably Trey Turner. Schwarber would be against Naylor. It would be Schwarber-Naylor if Naylor was still on the team. You know it too. You know it, but it's okay. It's okay. I'll get over it. I'll try. All right. Well, that's it for the MLB predictions. Let's talk a little bit of TV. I just want to state, I feel like we are in an excellent period of TV right now. I do. Paradise came out in January. In February, we got Invincible Season 3 and Severance Season 2. And now we got The Studio. I love The Studio. I don't think it's for everyone, but the people it's for, it's perfect. I think I'm one of the people it's for. If you're somebody who really likes... I'm trying to think exactly how to describe it. If you were... Because it's not even like somebody who likes XYZ. It's more like... How do I even want to phrase this? If you in college just had to take an elective for art and you went, oh, I'll take a film class. You took it and you also follow discussing film on Twitter, you probably will like this show. That's probably a good gauge, I would say. I mean, there's probably some people that take film class in college that are like, whoa, I thought we were going to be watching, like, Transformers, and we're watching... Okay, never mind. I'm willing to bet the people... Now, I'm willing to bet people didn't do that. I'm trying to think, what would exactly be a good comp? All right, no, I actually know the perfect explanation for the show. If you were really excited when the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie trailer dropped for his new film with Leonardo DiCaprio, the studio is for you. That's the best way to explain it. If you were really excited for that new Paul Thomas Anderson film, the studio is for you. You will like it. I mean, they did Entourage but like for film Twitter, essentially. And while I'm not a massive fan of like the Twitter culture of like the film Twitter culture, I think it's fun that the show is clearly playing into that. Like that show will live by the quote tweets, the people clipping the clips, and people talking about it on the internet. That's what that show is built for. The studio is not built for you go into work, everybody catch that episode of The Studio last night? That's not really what the studio is going to be for. The studio is going to be for like me and two of my buddies that are really into movies and texting like, hey, that new episode is awesome. It's not the show you show to your grandma. That's Yellowstone. That's, Landman. Like you get what I'm saying here? It's got a very distinct audience, but the audience it's for will just completely eat it up. Like just completely love it. And I love it. I think it's awesome. I cannot wait for the next episode. I was so entertained with the first two. And Rogen is interesting to me because for a while now, I've liked Seth Rogen, but I feel like I like a lot of stuff he's in, and I think I like him just fine, but he is never the part that I enjoy the most from what he's in. Does this make sense? Like, I really like Superbad, and he writes Superbad with his longtime friend Evan Goldberg. Seth Rogen and Superbad, probably one of my least favorite parts. Like, I think the cops are funny. I would never cut them. I think they're an integral part of the film, but what Seth Rogen is doing is not my favorite. I watched Pineapple Express, which is very much a Seth Rogen vehicle. You got to be in for him to like it. Didn't really like Pineapple Express that much. Just didn't work for me. He is never... Anytime he's the focal point, I never really like it. But when he's writing or he's producing, or like him in Invincible, one of my favorite characters. I love him as Alan the Alien. I love him. He is one of my favorite characters in Invincible. Because when he's a sideshow, I think he's great. When he's the main focus, I'm just not into it. He's the main focus of the show, and I love it. So, not that Seth Rogen needed my approval. He definitely does it. But he's finally clicked for me in this show. This is the first time he's been the lead that I'm like, yes, this is great. And you are a massive reason why it's great. But the cast is all excellent. A lot of cameos from real celebrities. The Martin Scorsese cameo is excellent. In the first episode, Martin Scorsese plays himself, and he is absolutely wonderful. Like, really good. He's really good at it. And come a long way from being in Taxi Driver for like 5 minutes and delivering some of the weirdest lines ever said in a film. That conversation in Taxi Driver he has is just absurd. I'm not a big Taxi Driver fan. I read Catcher in the Rye. I get it, But No, Studio's great. But other shows, I mean, so Severance Season 2. Obviously, Severance is awesome. I've started Severance, watched for the first time back in February, right about the time Season 2 was coming out. And I haven't started Season 2 yet, I must say. But I have heard nothing but incredible things, and I'm a massive fan of Severance. And you're like, why haven't you started Season 2 yet? Well, I'll tell you. A good friend of mine, I was like, hey, I'm watching Severance Season 1. You need to see the show. It's amazing. He's like, oh, okay. So he starts watching it. And then I was like, hey, I'm about a little over halfway through. Let me know when you catch up. We can talk about it. And he goes, oh, I already finished it. I'm about to start Season 2. I was like, you serious? He's like, yeah, I just burnt through it. And I was like, okay. Which is completely fine. But I was like, I thought we were going to chop it up and discuss, and didn't really get a chance to do that. But it's all right. So that's why I haven't started Season 2 yet, because my sense of urgency is kind of gone once that happened. But Severance Season 2, I mean, this was the season where Severance kind of broke out and became like the show. And what I mean is, so my thing with Severance was I saw the trailer 3 years ago, back when I was in high school, and I thought, that show looks really cool. That's a neat concept. I like Adam Scott. He's been trying to make something like this for a little while now. You could tell, when he was in the new Twilight Zone reboot that Jordan Peele did, he wanted to be a part of something like this. He wanted to be the focal point of, a big sci-fi show. And I was like, that looks really good. I was like, I want to watch that. And then Apple TV Plus logo came up, and I was like, okay, never mind. I'm out because I don't have Apple TV Plus. I'm willing to bet you listening to this do not have Apple TV Plus. And if you do, ask yourself, did you buy it because of Severance? Or Ted Lasso? That's the other one, but it's probably Severance because Ted Lasso's over. But, so then I didn't watch Severance. I heard nothing but great things. I really wanted to watch it, but I was like, hey, it's whatever. I'll just not, maybe I'll get it eventually. Well, then I started seeing trailers for Season 2. I was like, I would really love to watch that. And lucky for me, my aunt was nice enough to let me basically mooch off of her and watch it on her account. And I absolutely love Season 1. And that's really hard to do when you were really excited for something, you didn't try it because you couldn't, and then you hear great things, and then you do watch it and it lives up to the expectation. There was a lot of pressure on that show for me to like it. I had really high hopes. And it actually was better than I thought it'd be, which is absurd because I was so amped. I was so excited to start it. And I loved it. So, Severance is incredible. If you do not watch it, you should be watching it. I have full faith it is the best show on television. Full faith. It's incredible. And I think my experience with it is something that I think a lot of people had. Because first season comes out, there was a lot of positive buzz, but I think generally it wasn't really in the cultural zeitgeist. It was for people that really know their TV. Basically, the elite ball knowers of television knew that show was good. Because most people don't have Apple TV Plus. I think a lot of people were like me, saw Season 2's trailers and went, oh yeah, that did look good. I've heard good things. Or, my buddy who's really into TV shows told me I need to watch this. And I think Season 2 is when it started becoming the zeitgeist show. And I mean, I've been here at college and people have been talking about it a lot. And I'm just really happy for it because it is a very high concept sci-fi show. And for that to be not only the best show on television, but the most popular right now is really special. To be the it show is a big thing. But to be a high concept sci-fi show, that's the it show, that's a whole nother level of cool. And I mean, I guess I shouldn't be that surprised because Game of Thrones was the it show for a period there. And it was obviously a big fantasy show. But I mean, I think it's impressive. It's impressive. I think it's, really good. And I also want to say, talking about the it show, it's been a little bit since we had an it show. And what I mean by that, there's no real metric to this. It's just kind of going off my vibes, what I felt like. To be the it show, you're the show that it feels like everybody's talking about. Anybody could reference in a tweet or somebody could reference out in public and you would understand instantly. There's skits on YouTube that reference it. There's maybe they reference it on SNL. It's like a cultural touchdown. Like people nowadays, like right now, because Severance is the it show. You could be out somewhere at dinner and you could bring up, like if you're at dinner with friends, and you could be like, hey, would you guys do the Severance treatment? And they most likely would know what you're talking about. Most likely, because it's in the zeitgeist. Even though they haven't seen the show, they have a concept of what goes on in it because it's the it show. And if they haven't seen it, they know they should. That is a very rare quality. I think if you ask yourself what was the last it show, you can think of popular shows. I think The Boys is a very popular show. But The Boys is very popular with a select group of people. The Boys, I'm willing to bet, if I had to take my best guess, is a male-dominated audience that is within the range of probably 16 to 40. Yeah, probably in that range, which is a wide range, I understand. But I'm saying probably not a lot of moms that watch The Boys. Probably not a lot of teenage girls that watch The Boys. There obviously are some, but it's probably not the majority of the audience. But you could flip that on its head and say, obviously Riverdale was a very popular show. Actually, but it's not Riverdale. Let's do Euphoria. Because I think Riverdale is such like a stench to it. You know what I mean? It just does. Euphoria, right? Euphoria also has a very different audience. I'm willing to bet Euphoria is a majority female audience. There's definitely a lot of male viewers. Probably more male viewers of Euphoria than there are female viewers of The Boys. But regardless, Euphoria, I'm willing to bet, has more female viewers than male, and I'm also willing to bet the age group is once again a younger group. There's probably not a lot of grandmas watching Euphoria. There's probably not. There's probably not a lot of moms watching Euphoria. There's definitely some, but not a ton, I'm willing to bet. And I don't have any data to track this. This is just me spouting off. So if you're here on the 40-minute mark of the podcast and you're like, Ryan's just whistling Dixie out here, you are correct. I am just kind of talking at this point. But I have a point, I swear. Those shows are very popular shows. I don't know if they were ever really the it show, because to be the it show, you can't just be popular with a sect of the audience. You have to be popular in the general zeitgeist of the world. The Office was the it show. So let me run back. This is what I'm saying. It's been a little bit since we've had an it show, because we've had popular shows. For example, I would say Severance right now is the it show. Okay? Now let's roll back. Okay? 2024. Was there an it show? I don't think so. I think there's been shows that are popular. I'd say The Outer Banks is like a half point, right? Because The Outer Banks is the it show for people like under 24. Like if you're in high school and a new season of Outer Banks drops, it's like the Super Bowl. Like it's everybody's watching. It's a big talking point. At least that's how it was at my high school. I'm willing to bet it's not that way at like The Office. Not The Office like the TV show. I'm just saying like grown men going to work. They're not all like, yo, did you watch Outer Banks yet? That does not happen. That is a show that is heavily watched by teenagers and like probably some college kids too. That's right. But Yellowstone, right? Yellowstone, that's the it show for like people that are retired. If you are retired and you roll up to the golf course, you and the boys are talking about Yellowstone. Granted, there's obviously teenagers who watch Yellowstone, but I'm saying you're not rolling up to high school talking about Yellowstone as much as you're talking about Outer Banks. Just like rolling up to retirement home, you're going to be talking about Yellowstone. That is the it show for old people. So even though those were it shows for groups, that they weren't fully it shows. So Severance is a truly it show. Like high schoolers all the way up are talking about it, okay? 2024, I don't think there's an it show. 2023, somebody said to me, I think The Last of Us was the it show. I don't think so. I really don't, because I watched Last of Us Season 1 when it first came out, and I like it. I think it's pretty fine. I think it's really well done. I really do. And I like what they added. I really do. I liked the whole, I liked that basically bottle episode with Nick Offerman and I forget the other actor, but they were the two men that were in love in that one part, like in like this town, and they like, you know what I mean, like live. I can't remember their names, nor can I remember the other actor, but it was Nick Offerman and another man, and they were a gay couple, and they just kind of intersected with Ellie and Joel, and we had a whole episode following them. I thought that was cool. Like, I liked what they added. But my issue with The Last of Us show is like, who's it really for? Because to me, as someone who played the game, I don't really see a purpose in adapting games. Like, okay, if they came out tomorrow and said, guess what? Red Dead Redemption 2, the movie. Everybody would be like, ah! Like, everybody be going nuts, right? Oh my gosh, Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the best stories in video games. And then there would be someone who I agree with, who would state, this isn't needed. Because the story of Red Dead Redemption 2 is perfect in its video game form. We don't need to see it in movie form. It's perfect the way it is. It's not like a book. A book does not have a visual element. It does not, right? You don't see the book unfolding before you. You imagine it. So when you adapt a book to a movie, it is a different experience. Video games, especially anymore with how realistic the graphics have gotten, are essentially movies you're interacting with. Or at least some of them are. Not all of them. But I'm saying they can be. And Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of those. We don't need to get a movie of that. And that's kind of how I feel about Last of Us. It's one of the best stories in video games, yeah. But it's one of the best stories in video games. It doesn't need to be a movie. To me, like the Mario Bros. Movie, I know everybody's like dogging on the Minecraft movie. And for what it's worth, I'm not really that excited for it either. But to me, it makes more sense than the Last of Us show because we don't know the story of Minecraft. We can take elements and characters from that. Well, characters, it's really just Steve. But we can take the world and let's craft a story with it. But like just directly adapting a video game story, I just don't really see the purpose. Because now you could be like, well, you've like rendered the original obsolete. Because if somebody wants the story of The Last of Us, they're probably just going to watch the show if they're not somebody who plays video games. But the thing is, it's not one-to-one. Because, like, yeah, it'd be weird if you just did it one-to-one. But so you added some things when you did the show. But so, like, now it's like there's no definitive. I just think it's weird. That was a sidebar. The new season's going to come out. I'll probably watch it. I'm not, like, amped for it, though. Isabella Merced's in it. I like her. We'll see. I think the second season will be more interesting than the first season just because I think the second game's really good. And at the time, it obviously had all that outrage about it. So I'm pretty interested to see how people react to that in show form. And I want to see if they change anything. I hope they don't. I think season 2 has a chance to be even better. We'll see. But I don't think Last of Us is the it show because while it was popular, I don't think it was like all over the place. I think it was popular with like the people that always watch whatever the big show is at the time. Like Adolescence is popular right now. I don't think Adolescence is the it show. My mom isn't aware of Adolescence. My mom is aware of Severance. Does that make sense? Okay. 2022 has an it show. Stranger Things. Every year there's a Stranger Things season. It is the it show. Stranger Things has been the it show since the day it dropped. Stranger Things is the it show. Game of Thrones was the it show. The Office actually went through a period where it was the it show, and it was actually done airing. But The Office was the it show on Netflix, even like though it ended like 2013, it was like the it show of like 2018, which is weird, but it was. I think it's really rare to have an it show where it's like you are the thing. Tiger King had a period where it was the it show. I know that's an insane thing to say, but it is true. Tiger King had like a 2-3 week period where it was the it show. You got to give credit where credit is due. So, just want to state. Succession was super popular. I don't know if Succession ever broke through being the it show. I think that one is close. Better Call Saul was the it show back in 2020? Did Better Call Saul end in 23 or 22? I think it ended in 22, maybe. When did Better Call Saul end? 22. Okay, yeah. Better Call Saul was the it show in 22. I mean, you can, for what it's worth, you can have multiple it shows in a year. I'm just saying what year they came out, right? Better Call Saul is probably the last great cable show. Like, it's the last it show on cable. There could be another. We will see. As somebody who loves cable. But Better Call Saul was the it show. Yes, 2022 had 2 it shows because it had that and Stranger Things. Invincible was the it show in 2021. Well, no, I take that back. Sorry. I retract because Invincible is another one where it's super big with a certain sect of people. If you like superhero stuff, you definitely watch Invincible, or at least you've heard about it. My grandma and grandpa have no concept of Invincible. They've never heard about it in their life because it's very popular with a certain sect of people. Can't be the it show. It just cannot. The it show transcends all generations, all demographics. So in the 2020s, we've had Severance Season 2. Like only the second season's been an it show. Last season, Better Call Saul, Stranger Things Season 4, and Tiger King. Those are the only it shows we've had in the 2020s. Before that, like The Bear is close, I will say. The Bear is very close. Like Bear Season 2 was big. I think that was 2023 when The Bear Season 2 came out. And The Bear Season 2 was big. I must give them credit where credit is due. That's a toughie. I got to think on that one. But yeah, Bear Season 2 and then Succession Season 4 would be the 2 I think are real darn close to being the it show. I think Season 3 of The Bear really could have pushed in the stratosphere, but I didn't hear great things. It's also one of those, I also think it's interesting of TV. If you have a bad last season, it can just kind of tank your cultural significance. The other day, okay, this is a wild conversation I had, and we will get back to the great shows of 2025 here in a bit. This part of the pod will end up being longer than the MLB predictions, and I'm going to title this MLB predictions, and so I must admit, moral of the story is I guess I'm more excited for television talk than I am the MLB season this year, and that's kind of sad. Hopefully the MLB season blows me away. You know, I kind of got more excited when I took the Reds to win the NL Central. I must admit, that brought some joy into my heart, and that made me happy. So hopefully that happiness can carry through. Anyways, carry through the MLB season, not this podcast. I'm doing good. Don't worry about me. But I'm saying, you know what I mean. All right. Where are we at? Oh, yes. This conversation I had the other day with somebody. We were talking about shows, right, that were popular in the time. I was having this conversation. I was basically building this last 10 minutes we just did that I was telling you about. I was talking to a friend of mine about television shows, whatever. And somehow Lost came up. And I was like, well, Lost was the it show in the 2000s. I mean, it was huge. And he's like, are you serious? I never even heard of that. And I was like, excuse me? He was like, yeah, I've never heard of Lost. What is that? He's like, is that the one where they're on the island? I'm like, yeah, it's like one of the biggest shows on television, late 2000s. He's like, really? Never really know anybody who's watched it. Whoa. I think it's wild how, due to the fact that people didn't like the finale of Lost, that one of the biggest shows in television history, a show that I think is very influential on a lot of the TV shows we've gotten in the last 15 years. Like a lot of them have roots tied, especially Severance, really. Like the way they've structured it, the way they introduce these ideas, the way they tease you, the way they give you clues. A lot of that goes back to Lost, right? And I'm like, for full disclosure, I've not watched much of Lost, but I have a good concept of how it runs. And a good friend of mine is a big fan of Lost. I should say, I don't know if it's was or is, but he's like, the finale is not as bad as people said it was, which I feel like there has been a bit of a reclamation of the finale. I think anymore people are a little less negative on it than they used to be. But I think it's also one of those when you know it's coming type thing, right? But it's just kind of gone. Like, nobody talks about Lost anymore. It's not like people, if I asked people my age and I said, you know, what were the best shows of the 2000s based off what you hear? Because most people, they're not everybody's as, you know, sad but true, guys. Not everybody's as interested in all this film and TV history as I am. And you know what? That's okay. At least I'm trying, you know. No, it's fine, obviously. But if I was like, you know, what were the big shows of 2000? They'd probably say The Sopranos. And The Sopranos, Obviously, it was a very popular show. And then I'd be like, okay, what after that? And then they'd be like, I don't know. Maybe they say The Wire? Maybe. Like, they don't know what The Shield is. Like, most kids my age don't know what 24 is. Like, it was a big show. It was a very big show, right? And I just think it's interesting how some of these shows just kind of lost to time. And it's not even 24's fault. It's not like it has a bad finale or anything. It's just not one of the shows that's still really talked about. I just think that's kind of interesting. Like, Gossip Girl is 100% stuck in the cultural zeitgeist. People still love Gossip Girl. People still watch Gossip Girl. People do not watch Lost. Like, Breaking Bad had a huge period there in the early 2020s. Breaking Bad might have been the it show in like 2022. Breaking Bad might have had an it show run. Part of that was Better Call Saul still coming out, so it kept it in the zeitgeist. Breaking Bad actually was the it show for a bit in the early 2020s. Breaking Bad hit like a massive level of popularity, like post-COVID. It was huge. So yeah, they'd say that. They'd probably say Sopranos and Breaking Bad. And like, it's just like Lost didn't exist. I just think that's wild. And Game of Thrones, I think, is going to be like that, which is crazy. But like, I don't know anybody who really watches Game of Thrones now, because I think most guys or like girls that I know are just like, oh yeah, I thought about watching that, but I just heard the last, season, or now they'll be like last couple seasons so bad that, it's not even worth it. I'm like, damn. Like, that show won so many Emmys and was so popular. And now it's just like, gone. I just think it's wild. Now, I will say, obviously, all it takes is a couple people on the internet chatting it up. Or in real life. I'm a big fan of that, too. I actually prefer that if you want to chop it up in real life, people. It's always a good sign. But all it takes is a couple people being like, hey, yo, this is good. And then all of a sudden there's a movement. And then boom, Game of Thrones is back and popular again. That's all it takes. But will we have that? Probably eventually. But not right now. It's just not really in. I think it's interesting. But back to what we talked about like 20 minutes ago, which is there's a lot of good TV out right now. Because Paradise is also super fun. I have not finished Paradise, but I think it's super fun. And I really like Paradise, and I'm very excited to start Invincible Season 3. Big fan of Invincible. Love Invincible. So for me, Paradise, top would be Severance, Studio, Invincible. And then Paradise is like out of those, it's the one I'm least interested in. But still, a lot of good TV coming out right now, right? Sterling K. Brown's good in everything. He's in Paradise, right? Okay. Then you get this adolescent show, 4 episodes. They're all one shot. It's about this, I think he's a 10-year-old boy who is accused of murdering a young classmate that's the same age as him. I might be based off a true story. I don't know. Regardless, very heavy, obviously heavy, drama on Netflix. Apparently, it's incredible. I don't know if it's really for me. I feel like that would just be kind of upsetting. But apparently, it's really good. So, there's that out. And then The Pit. And I heard about The Pit, and I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. So it's like one of the executive producers of ER and one of the guys that was on ER. And it's just ER, but now it's 24. So it's 15 episodes. Each is an hour of his 15-hour shift. You start at 7 a.m. Every episode's real time, an hour. Awesome. The 24 model is so good. We need to do more episodes of shows with the 24 model. Just make more shows with the 24 model. It works every time. It's awesome. You must have built-in commercial breaks, though. That is a key part of the 24 experience, is the commercial breaks. You need it, and you can't change what the commercial breaks are either, and you can't change the duration. They have to be. I'm just saying, Hulu, the commercial breaks on 24 are very specific. They have to line up within the show's time. It has to be exactly an hour, because when you're away on the commercial break, there's stuff happening in the episodes. It doesn't work correctly in 24 if there's no commercial break. There has to be one, but it has to be the correct amount of time, because it messes up what Jack Bauer's doing. You get what I'm saying here? Anyways, 24 is awesome. It's like one of my grandma's favorite shows ever. I watched it at a pretty young age, and I was like, yeah, this show rules. And it does rule. And I think more shows should just do the 24 model. I think there's certain shows that we kind of need to have a show of at all times. And what I mean by that is, like Bill Simmons has talked about this before on his podcast. There's just certain types of movies that always work. And I think it's the same thing, and he said the same thing with TV. There's certain types of TV shows that just always work. And I think an ER-style show just kind of always works. Like, we should pretty much have an ER-style show on at all times. Like, there needs to be a big hospital drama that is airing on some network or on some streaming service at all times. There has to be one, because that formula will never get old. It just won't. Like, there's a reason it was popular, and there's a reason it works. And just like there always needs to be a detective show that is like the detective show. Like, you always need to have, that doesn't have to be like purely detective, right? It can be like Magnum PI, but there always needs to be something like that, right? There's always got to be something that is filling the Magnum PI, the Burn Notice, the Hawaii Five-0, the Monk, the Columbo. And I know you're like, whoa, those are all very different. Burn Notice is very different, Columbo. But I'm saying it's the base idea of the detective show. You can do a lot within the genre, but we need to have one at all times. And we do. It's Only Murders in the Building. That's the big one. And that type of show should always be on air. And, we filled in the ER void. So next up, we need a good sitcom, boys. Start cooking, please. We need it. It's been a long time since we've had a very popular and very good sitcom. And I want to point out, I think part of the reason The Pitt has got so much positive buzz is because it's 15 episodes. It's not 8 to 10. It's 15. And I hope HBO takes a long, hard look in the mirror. Because granted, it's technically branded under the Max branding. But I'm saying Warner Brothers is a company. I hope they take a long, hard look in the mirror. And I hope everybody else does too. And they say, people love sitcoms. They do. They are a staple of American television. And we have struggled to make a new popular sitcom. There are funny shows out there. I really like The Studio. It is not a traditional sitcom. There's a reason Young Sheldon was popular. There's a reason The Ted Show was popular. I beg you, Peacock. You have the opportunity to make the next big sitcom on television with Ted. The first season was loved. I loved it. A lot of other people loved it too, because it was great. It's 6 episodes long. You need to do weekly episodes, like 25 episodes. Just print the money. Now, granted, you're like, oh, that's not that profitable, blah, 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 the way streaming services work. Fine, put it on NBC. How hard would that be to do? I actually better check to make sure it's not TVMA, because that would, I do fully understand, like primetime wise, I don't think you can do that. It is TVMA. Ugh. That is a pain. Oh, I take it back. Ted season 1 was 7 episodes, not 6. Whoopsie poopsie. But Peacock, just make it 25 episodes. Run it weekly. People will subscribe. You will have the sitcom. You will. I want to know, I'm willing to bet Hulu gets excellent numbers out of having It's Always Sunny. Because it's like one of the last big sitcoms. And there's other funny shows out there, but there hasn't been like the sitcom in a long time. I mean, Netflix has been trying it. I've heard good things about Tires, but it's just hasn't really captured the audience, right? There's got to be something out there. So, as far as other ideas I have for shows that should always be running, so we got a medical drama, we got a detective I said should always be running. I think you always need to have the borderline soap opera-ish bunch of high school or college kids drama they get into. That's Gossip Girl, that's Dawson's Creek, That's 90210. That's, oh my gosh, what was the other one? The one that had the, what you say? The OC, right? There always needs one of those. Where's the new one of that? We need that. I think White Lotus has honestly kind of slid in. It's like the prestigious version of that. No. We need like a good 20 episodes. We need that show. That type of show always works. Where is it at? That's what we need next. So, I'm just spitting out ideas. You know. David Zaslav, come take my ideas. There you go. Just make a new... Where's the new Melrose Place? Where's the new Dynasty? Oh, man. All right. Once we hit Melrose Place, I think it's a good rule that we're done talking TV. We're done. I think Tubi is a channel that just runs nothing but Melrose Place, which is just immaculate. Westworld was the it show for a period. It's like one season. Then the rest of the seasons no one cared about. But Westworld, I remember that. All right. That's it from me. Thank you for tuning into the MLB Predictions, and hopefully you enjoyed the video podcast. Yeah, hopefully it was fun. So I will see you all again. We're going to have, well, at this point, you've already had the April Fool's pod from me. This either aired before or after Quinn and I's episode, and then next week we'll just have National Championship wrap-up, and we'll be getting ready for the NFL draft. So that'll be fun. All right. That is it from me. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.